Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kelvin from Law Society Pro Bono Services. I will be your MC for this morning. Welcome to today's MOU signing ceremony between Law Society Pro Bono Services and the Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth Singapore Cares Office. Gracing this event this morning, we have Mr. Edwin Tong, Minister for Culture, Community and Youth and Second Minister for Law, Dr. Ang Hak Sing, Deputy Secretary, Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth, Mr. Gregory Vijay Andren, SC, Chairman of Law Society Pro Bono Services, distinguished guests and representatives of SG Cares volunteer centers who are viewing this event online. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today to witness the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between LSPBS and MCCY's SG Cares Office, which will support the growth of pro bono legal assistance to ensure access to justice for the vulnerable and needy of Singapore. Now, it gives me great pleasure to call upon Mr. Gregory Vijay Andren, SC, to give his welcome remarks. Chairman, please.
Minister for Culture, Community and Youth and Second Minister for Law, Mr. Edwin Tong, Deputy Secretary, Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth, Dr. Ang Hak Sing, distinguished guests, volunteers, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. We sincerely appreciate your attendance in person and virtually for the signing of this significant Memorandum of Understanding between MCCY's SG Cares Office and Law Society Pro Bono Services, or LSPBS for short. This momentous moment in time will signify our commitment as LSPBS towards supporting skills-based volunteerism in Singapore, in particular the legal sector. Since 2007, LSPBS has been faithfully promoting the pro bono culture in the legal sector. We did so, and we continue to do so, by curating and conducting capacity building and capability building programs for our volunteers and other community organizations. Our volunteers, especially volunteer lawyers, a number of whom are gathered here as well, have gone beyond the call of duty unselfishly to contribute their time, talents, and treasure to deserved but underserved or unserved individuals and communities with legal needs. Being identified by the Singapore government as a key national intermediary is a fantastic tribute to the good work of our volunteers in doing good. We're deeply honored and humbled to steward this governmental trust. MCCY's SG Cares Office, with its vast and diverse networks and support systems, is well positioned to be the catalyst and game changer on how we collaborate efficiently and effectively in the broader ecosystem across the public and people sector. An anonymous quote tells us, if you want to be incrementally better, be competitive. If you want to be exponentially better, be cooperative. Cooperate we must for that exponential impact. Another adage, this time from Henry Ford, wisely informs us, and I quote, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success, unquote. We've come together, kept together, and worked together with network partners as a modus operandi to successfully grow the pro bono ethos in Singapore. Let me now say some words on a few key aspirations enshrined in the focal document for today's signature event. This MOU between SG Cares Office and LSPBS marks a strategic and symbiotic collaboration between SG Cares and LSPBS to enhance skills-based volunteerism. Through this public-private partnership, we aim to nurture both hard and soft skills among our volunteers in the legal community to sharpen their serve. With our partnership, we will specifically strive to leverage and scale current efforts and programs in partnership with local community partners to create sustainable volunteer opportunities and better engage skills-based volunteers. LSPBS is proud of our volunteers across various schemes and programs, and some of whom are physically in the audience today, others are joining in virtually. In the financial year that ended 31st March 2020, we had close to 1,700 volunteers, both individuals and firms, who contributed their time and skills across all programs, including law awareness, community legal clinics, the criminal legal aid scheme, and Project Law Help, to name but a few. We will continue our efforts to increase the awareness of skills-based volunteer opportunities by tapping onto digital platforms and network partners. This will give us actual and virtual touchpoints in the community by extending our reach to the needy and vulnerable beyond current levels. We are also aiming to diversify and offer holistic volunteer opportunities to harness a variety of skill sets, including legal ones. This is a paradigm shift, as the support required by the beneficiaries of our cause needs to be diagnosed and solved through an integrated problem-solving lens. Supporting volunteers interested in pro bono work and building their capabilities has always been at the heart of LSPBS volunteering programs. The Criminal Legal Aid Scheme training program, for example, comprised 23 modules on various criminal law topics and is delivered by highly qualified senior practitioners, academics, experts, and psychiatrists. Through this program, we impart valuable technical skills to legal practitioners. Being equipped, they then go on to contribute their skills pro bono, whether through our schemes or with other community partners or social service agencies. Volunteer capability building seminars and workshops are also regularly organized to support and train our volunteers. Some past topics that we touched on include, among others, employment and women in litigation. Through such capability building programs, we have skilled, upskilled, and reskilled our volunteers to serve the community with care, compassion, and competence. Our Assist Non-Profit Organizations, or Assist NPO scheme, builds capacity in the non-profit, charitable, and social enterprise sectors through free community organization legal clinics run by volunteer lawyers. Volunteer law firms consult on corporate non-litigation matters as well under our Project Law Help scheme. These resources are accessible and available to community organizations and SSAs to meet their needs for support in charity governance and legal services. In the FY that ended 31st March 2020, we had 27 successful applications to the community organization clinics and 7 successful applications to Project Law Help. And we will continue to build a strong bedrock of legal and charity governance so that the good work of community organizations and SSAs can bloom and grow and enable them to focus on their core mission and do good well. At LSPBS, we are deeply grateful to be in a unique and privileged position to assist community organizations in Singapore on their legal issues. We recognize that this enhanced opportunity to serve is a privilege, not a right. And we thank our community partners for placing their trust in us and giving our volunteers opportunities to serve. We look forward to scaling our efforts to do good better. So in closing, we will never rest on past laurels, but a heartfelt word of gratitude is necessary. Our current impact would not be possible without the support and contribution of our dedicated team of volunteers and staff. And we thank each of you, a number of whom are here, and I won't single out everyone by name, but you have passionately and compassionately contributed your time, talent, and treasure to our cause of access to justice. Last year, despite our COVID-19 challenges, we saw exemplary levels of commitment, including engaging through online modalities. It is only through our continuing commitment to serve that we can reach out and touch lives needing access to justice, and that way add a meaningful difference and a differentiated meaning to their lives. We look forward to a fruitful collaboration with SG Cares in growing skills-based volunteerism in Singapore. I truly believe that this potentially potent private-public partnership will enable us to leverage on new synergies and opportunities in the years ahead. With this MOU, we will boost the twin turbos of specialist competence and strong compassion, which our lawyers have already been known for. That way, the increased fingerprints will become increased touch points in the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would like to now invite our guest of honor, Mr. Edwin Tong, to say a few words. Minister, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Gregory Vijayendran, Senior Counsel, President of the Law Society of Singapore, and of course, Chairman of the LSPBS, Law Society Pro Bono Services. Mr. Lim Tong Gee, CEO of LSPBS, my old friend, an old classmate, fellow members of the bar, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Very happy to join all of you today. I think, as Greg says, this is indeed a monumental occasion, a monumental, significant partnership. And I'm very glad to be able to witness the signing of the MOU this morning between SG Care's office and LSPBS. The MOU will see SG Care's office partnering with LSPBS to do a few things. To grow the number of volunteer lawyers that we have in our midst. We have many, but I think we can always grow that space. To mobilize and deploy them to the SG Care's volunteer centers around Singapore. And I'll speak a little bit more about the SG Care's VCs around the island later on. And to help the disadvantaged, the indigent, those who deserve legal assistance, as Greg says, to help them with their legal needs. It is very heartening to see our legal profession step forward so readily. I'm very proud to have been a member of the bar. I regard myself still as a member of the bar. And I'm very proud to have seen the growth of the Pro Bono Services office, the growth of the pro bono spirit in many members of the bar. They generously and selflessly contribute both time and expertise. And I think they probably put more time and effort into pro bono work than into the regular days affairs. And I think that's a hallmark of the pro bono spirit and ethos. Access to justice, as Greg says, is a key cornerstone of our society. I think those of you who've heard me say anything about this will know that I regard this as a cornerstone principle of our legal system. It's well and good to have a strong legal system to sell to the world, to be public and international about it, but we do want to ensure that people in Singapore can access our justice system and can use and avail themselves of legal services. And that's what will make Singapore special and continue to grow as a society that remains inclusive. Every Singaporean must therefore be confident that they can seek and obtain redress through the system to ensure that it is accessible, it is affordable, timely, and also just, regardless of income levels, social status, mental or physical capacity, ethnicity, race, religion, whatever. And I think all of us subscribe to that belief and philosophy. As our Chief Justice, the Honorable Sundaresh Menon, said in his first mass call address in 2013, and I quote, "A visceral sense of distress sets in when society perceives that the scales of justice do not balance evenly between those who can and those who cannot access suitable legal representation," unquote. And I think that speaks very well of philosophy that we all share at LSPBS. The government, on the other hand, is committed to ensuring access to justice for all. I think that's a key foundation of what we do in our legal policies, balancing the scales of justice as best as we can. So, for example, our Legal Aid Bureau provides legal service, legal advice, legal assistance, and legal aid on civil matters to Singapore citizens and permanent residents with limited means. We are also a major funder of the Criminal Legal Aid Scheme, something which was started ground up by lawyers in 1985 through the initiative of several lawyers, eventually a scheme that grew and grew. And in 2015, the government stepped in to enhance CLAS class so that we can serve even more, a broader spread, and ensure that the program remains sustainable. In both LAB and class, it would, however, not be possible to extend help to eligible applicants were it not for the lawyers who step forward, the many volunteers who offer their services at either low or no cost. These are the weights with which the scales of justice can be balanced. The lawyers, the people on the ground. What they do is to make a big difference to the lives of the people that they have touched and helped. Let me share one real life story and anonymize it so that we don't have to get into the details. But the story itself is featured on MinLaw's social media platforms. A man was arrested for voluntarily causing hurt. At that point in time of his life, his father had just been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. His brother was jobless. His sister was just a student. He went to LSPBS for help. LSPBS gave him legal assistance. This lawyer, through hours of selfless hard work, investigations, poured through documents, looked at circumstances, studied the facts, interviewed witnesses, eventually proved his innocence. And this man got acquitted. And as he said, this lawyer changed his life. It's not just an acquittal, it's not just the avoidance of an offense, but it was life-changing. It meant so much to him and to his family. So I echo Greg's deepest appreciation to all our pro bono lawyers who have contributed in one way, big or small, in many ways, and to LSPBS. If the pro bono lawyers are the weights that balance the scales, as I've said, then I would say LSPBS is the weighing pans holding these weights together. The receptacle, the organization, and the people who make this tick. It would not be possible without the infrastructure and the support that LSPBS has put together. LSPBS's programs and activities, including its law awareness initiatives and free legal clinics, these have just grown over time. They have benefited many people on the ground, and I think if I read Greg and Tongi correctly, these efforts will continue to grow. With this MOU and SG Care's office, the good work that LSPBS has been doing will be multiplied. And this program will allow the good work to reach out to even more under the SG Care's volunteer centers. There are currently 14 SG Care's VCs in operation, currently 14. But as I said in Parliament a few months ago, this will grow to 24, which will represent one in every town in Singapore by March 2022, so a little under a year. The VCs will be responsible to grow and coordinate volunteer supply, to build volunteer management capabilities, and to broker partnerships between demand and supply at the town level. And I think this is an important job because these are volunteers who, when we say manage, it really means to ensure that the work that they give, time that they give, is put to good use, properly managed. And I think a good, well-managed volunteer system is one which will inspire even more volunteers to step forward to contribute their time. Legal assistance is one area which is often in demand in the community. I think we all know that. It's across the spectrum of different areas, usually family, often criminal, and sometimes civil. With LSPBS joining hands, working with the VCs in the way that Greg has just articulated, the needs of our residents on the ground, where the rubber hits the road, where the lawyers give the advice, assist the individuals, this will be better met. More lives will be touched, and in my example earlier, changed for the better. The government will continue to encourage volunteerism and giving, and as we announced in Budget 2021, we will extend the Business and IPC Partnership Scheme, or BIPS, to 31st December 2023. This scheme allows businesses to enjoy a 250% tax deduction on wages and related expenses when they organize or support their employees to volunteer and provide services at IPCs. IPCs are institutions of public character. So to assist in this effort, we make it easier for corporates to do so. So there really is no more excuses. This, however, is really just a little incentive. I mean, we can talk about financial support or tax incentives, but at the heart of the ethos of a volunteer, I think we don't do this because of tax breaks, tax benefits, wages, grants, and so on. We do it because this is meaningful and the work that is done is enjoyed by the volunteers. And because they genuinely care for fellow Singaporeans, fellow persons on the ground, to ensure that we not just say that justice is accessible, but we become the means by which that justice is accessed. Just like the pro bono lawyers among us today. And indeed, this is what makes our profession special. I always like when we talk about this to refer to Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, who is the first woman on the US Supreme Court. And I would like to share a quote from her. Those of you who've heard this before, just shut your ears and bear with me, because I like this quote and I think it's meaningful. She says, "Certainly, life as a lawyer is a bit more complex today than it was a century ago. The ever-increasing pressures of the legal marketplace, the need to bill hours, to market to clients, to attend to bottom lines, have made fulfilling the responsibilities of community service quite difficult. But public service marks the difference between a business and a profession. While a business can afford to solely focus on profits, a profession cannot, and I think should not. While a business cannot, a profession must devote itself first to the community, and that's a responsibility to serve. I can imagine no greater duty in fulfilling this obligation, and I can imagine no greater pleasure." And I think this resonates with the work that LSPBS and the so many volunteer lawyers here have been doing, will do, And I think we'll continue to do even more through this partnership with the VCs. All of you work beyond the hours, beyond the call of duty. Take joy, real joy, in seeing someone get back on his or her feet with the service, with the advice that you give. And because you have applied your skills, those that you've obtained, those of us amongst the more privileged ones who've been able to be lawyers, to give back in the way you know best. So once again, let me thank all of you, whether it's LSPBS, Law Society, or the many volunteers and the Secretariat who make this all tick. Let me thank all of you for the numerous hours you put in, but more importantly, for the dedication, the heart, and as Greg says, the passion and the compassion with which you do your work. I think this is what sets it apart. This is what makes our profession special, meaningful, and this is what it means when we say the law is indeed a noble profession. Thank you very much. Have a good day ahead.
Thank you, Minister. We'd like to request for you to move to the center to witness the MOU signing. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Ang Hak Sing, Deputy Secretary of MCCY, Mr. Gregory Vijayendran, SC, Chairman of LSPBS, as signatories of today's MOU. With this MOU, Law Society Pro Bono Services will serve as SGCare's national level intermediary to grow skill-based volunteerism in Singapore, specifically in the legal industry. With support and resources from the SGCare's office, LSPBS will grow regular and sustained skill-based volunteers and inculcate the values of care, consideration, and contribution to members of public in Singapore. To commemorate this occasion, we'll be taking an official photograph. Minister, Dr. Ang, and Chairman, please stand and hold the folder for the photographer in front. Thank you, Minister, Dr. Ang, and Chairman. This marks a wonderful new chapter and fruitful partnership between LSPBS and SGCares. With this, we end the formalities of the event this morning. Thank you very much for gracing us with your presence, Minister, Dr. Ang, and Chairman. On that note, I would like to invite everyone who is online to stay on for a sharing session on the programs and services offered by Law Society Pro Bono Services by my colleague, Ms. Goh Chien Hui. Over to you, Chien Hui.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm Chien Hui from Law Society Pro Bono Services Outreach Team. We're happy to have you here today to witness the formalizing of our partnership with MCCY, and more importantly, to learn about how we can strengthen this partnership. So a bit more about ourselves. We started out as a department under the Law Society of Singapore in 2007 to help those who were unable to afford legal representation. And in 2017, we were incorporated as a wholly owned company limited by guarantee and became a separate entity from the Law Society of Singapore. Like many of you today, we are now a registered charity and an institution of a public character. Our core missions are to facilitate access to justice for the needy and vulnerable, as well as to promote pro bono culture. With this partnership with our volunteer centers, we hope to help charities such as yourselves with any legal issues you may face. And more importantly, we hope to work together to enhance skilled volunteerism in Singapore, to explore how our lawyers can better serve the community. And to that end, please feel free to direct any interested volunteers to us. Maybe I'll share a bit more about our volunteers or our lawyers in Singapore. The pro bono culture in Singapore is one of the strongest in the region. Lawyers here do about 22 to 23 hours of pro bono work per year, with more than a third of our lawyers taking on more than 10 hours a year. Now, it's important to note that despite our strong results, pro bono work is not mandatory in Singapore. It just goes to show that our lawyers do good, not because they're obliged to, but because of a real desire to help the vulnerable. And part of this driving force is the emphasis on pro bono work by key persons like our Chief Justice, like Law Society's president who we just saw, and support from various ministries like Ministry of Law. The law schools in Singapore also mandate pro bono hours as a requirement for graduation, which really inculcates in our younger generation the desire to give back to the community. And our lawyers also take pride in their pro bono work. They adhere to a strict code of conduct in addition to the usual legal profession rules, which all lawyers have to adhere to. This means that pro bono or paid work, our lawyers have to act in their client's best interest. I'll briefly go through the services we provide and the volunteering opportunities we have. So the services that we offer can be thought of as the different building blocks of a pyramid. At the base, we have awareness, where we empower the man on the street with legal knowledge through talks and events. Here, our volunteers help to not only give talks, but also to identify topics of talks and come up with talk outlines to ensure that that legal knowledge is relevant and accessible to the general public. Somewhere in the middle, we have advice, where the needy can receive advice at legal clinics, and here our lawyers provide free general legal advice to those who need it. And right at the top, we have pro bono legal representation, where that basically means you have a lawyer acting for you, going to court on your behalf, etc. Now I'll explain a bit more about the programs offered under each of these blocks. So for our awareness arm, we aim to empower the public through education, and we have three main areas under this. Firstly, legal talks, and we also have Project Schools, which is a program targeted at educating youths on legal rights and consequences, and we also have publications. So our legal talks may be for the general public, it may be targeted at a specific group of beneficiaries or even to professionals working in a particular industry. The focus of these talks is completely up to the organization who wishes to engage our volunteers. So for example, we have held talks on advanced care planning, which explains the importance of planning ahead and making arrangements like wills. This is a topic which affects everyone, and especially beneficiaries of organizations which work with the elderly. On the other hand, we have also held talks for professionals and community workers. We are strong believers in partnerships and building volunteer capacity. And to that end, we have held talks for social workers to understand more about court proceedings and legal rights, to better equip them with the skills to help the beneficiaries navigate the legal system. Separately, we have also held talks for lawyers to understand more about the types of social services and the constraints of social workers. And through these, we work towards having a more educated man on the street and building a stronger ecosystem of support. So if you have any needs in your community, feel free to reach out to us. Our volunteers would be happy to customize talks to your needs, be it in different languages, topics, format, or even if you don't know what sort of legal talk is suitable for your beneficiaries, just reach out to us and we can help identify a potential legal topic based on the needs you have shared with us. We also have various educational publications, some for the man on the street, like our general Know the Law Now booklet, and some for specific industries, like our Advocates for the Arts booklet for those in the creative industry. And we also understand that there is a kind of multiplier effect in supporting community organizations because your reach broadens significantly with each community organization that you help. So in addition to these talks, we also support community organizations through publications such as Legalese. Legalese is a toolkit to help organizations like ourselves, charities and social enterprises, with legal issues, for example, corporate structure, regulatory requirements, PDPA concerns, and even legal implications surrounding funding. Now, we understand that awareness alone is not sufficient, and so people may have specific queries where they need help with. So that's where our legal clinics come into play. The purpose of our legal clinics is to provide basic legal advice for free so that applicants can decide on their next steps. We have a range of clinics focusing on not just different areas of the law, but also different types of applicants. And for members of the public, sessions are one-off 20-minute consultations on personal issues. That means no commercial or business issues. Some examples, most of our queries are for family and employment issues. For example, I caught my spouse cheating. How can I get a divorce? Or my boss refuses to pay me on time. What can I do? And for community organizations like ourselves, Charities or any other community organizations may qualify for a 45-minute session on issues related to your organization. We typically receive inquiries to do with corporate structure, interpretation and drafting of contracts, terms and conditions, PDPA issues. For example, to what extent can volunteers' data and photos of beneficiaries be used? Or IP issues, like can volunteers reuse the materials which they've created for your organization somewhere else? So we also have special clinics for the exceptionally vulnerable, like migrant workers, domestic workers, and youths. And if you know of any needs in your community which are not met, or if you have any volunteers who wish to set up a new legal clinic, please reach out to us. We are always looking to plug gaps in the community and we'll be happy to explore having a new clinic join our network. So joining our network will come with some benefits because we have shared resources. For example, we can share with you how our clinics are run, so you don't have to start building the clinic from scratch. And our volunteers also get free professional indemnity insurance coverage. And lastly, we have advocacy, where we provide legal representation. This essentially means that there will be a lawyer acting for you. We have various schemes under this arm, also for different areas of law and different types of applicants. CLAS, Criminal Legal Aid Scheme, is our biggest scheme, where we provide pro bono representation for applicants who face criminal charges. FJSS, Family Justice Support Scheme, is a new scheme for applicants who marginally fail Legal Aid Bureau's means test and face family law issues. As for our ad hoc pro bono scheme, it's a unique scheme which tries to catch deserving cases which fall through the cracks because they don't qualify for any other schemes. So such cases must be exceptional and can only qualify on a referral basis, meaning that someone else, like another legal aid scheme, a social worker, or a community organization like ourselves, have to refer the matter to us after assessing and deciding that the case is indeed exceptional. So do let us know if you have any beneficiaries with these needs, or if you have any volunteers interested in these causes. And for community organizations like yourselves, we offer corporate legal representation. This is different from the community organization clinics we saw earlier, because under our Project Law Help scheme, a lawyer will be able to help with more substantive work, which may not have been possible with a one-off clinic session. Examples include drafting a contract from scratch, advising on a transaction, reviewing documents for a grant application, or even litigation, meaning going to court if necessary. We also have another scheme here, which is not listed, which is meant for community organizations with international needs. Our Joint International Pro Bono Committee helps organizations reach out to an international pool of volunteers for transnational legal issues. So potential areas of assistance could include, for example, a charity which hopes to set up a subsidiary overseas, or a charity which faces tax issues in overseas fundraising efforts. So this is a list of our, a non-exhaustive list of our partners. We usually collaborate with these different organizations for various reasons. One example is law awareness talks. So for example, we collaborate with NTUC for employment-related talks. We also collaborate with, let's say, the Migrant Workers Center for legal clinics for migrant workers in Singapore. And we also work with these organizations to do referrals. So family service centers can refer their clients to us if they see that their clients are facing legal issues. And we also work with these partners to be in discussions. We are in constant conversations with the legal industry, the judiciary, the government bodies, etc., to see how we can better improve our services and help the community. So we are really happy to have volunteer centers join our network of partners, and we look forward to connecting with each of you to explore how our volunteer lawyers can help serve community needs and how we can foster deeper community bonds between our volunteers and their neighborhoods. So please feel free to email us to take this discussion further. This is our contact information. We have a few email addresses listed here. For anything to do with volunteer management, you can email our volunteer@laws.probono.org. Anything to do with collaboration, for example, if you wish to have a legal talk, or you're just not sure how we can help you or help your beneficiaries or volunteers, you can feel free to reach out to us at Outreach. And for yourselves as a community organization, if your organization itself needs help, you can reach out to us at Assist and POs. We also have our resources listed here. We have the registration form for the community organization clinics, which is the 45-minute clinic sessions that I was talking about earlier. For our Project Law Help scheme, which is the representation scheme for community organization, we will also go through the same form first for us to assess the suitability for the schemes. We also listed Legalese, which is the legal toolkit for community organizations. And you can feel free to visit our YouTube page for law awareness talks, for examples of our past law awareness talks for both your beneficiaries and yourself. So some topics that we have uploaded there include family violence, employment issues, fraud prevention in charities, legacy giving, talks with the Commissioner of Charities, etc. And if you just like more information on what we do, please feel free to visit our website. And a copy of our annual report will also be sent in the follow-up email tomorrow. Yeah, so I'll be opening up the floor to any questions we have. Okay, if not, then thank you very much for joining us today. And we hope to work with you soon. Thank you.